Hello everyone, welcome to Driven by AutoShield. I'm your host John the Car Guy, and today we're going to mix a little fun and have some super useful car knowledge and a little trivia. To kick things off, did you know that the first air-conditioned vehicle hit the roads in 1939? Can you imagine what it would be like to drive around Cayman back then with no AC? Thank God that ain't the case anymore. So luckily we got this modern technology. Let's just dive right in and look at some easy car care tips, practical owner hacks, and I think we can wrap it up with some real life Cayman moments. The idea is to keep you both entertained and informed. So let's go. Now, to kick things off, let's talk a little bit about preventative maintenance. A few simple habits can save you a lot of hassle and money. We can start with fluids. My mission here isn't to get everyone to become a mechanic, but to at least give you guys some practical information that can help you. One of the first things is doing a simple oil check, or I should say fluid level check. We will have some content on how to check your own fluids, how to check your coolant levels, etc., etc. But the easiest way is you can pop the bonnet at least once a month, pull the dipstick out and see what the oil level is. You can do this first thing in the morning when the car is cold, or if you just left the car, for a few hours or so forth, right? You don't want to do this as you're just drive off or anything like that, because as the engine is rotating, the oil is getting all over the place. It's on a level ground, as well as the car has been sitting for a few hours so that all the oil is fully drained. Another thing I was looking at is creating a video series. We were presented the opportunity and we're just making the best out of it. The overall goal is to improve, and let's be honest, our first videos is probably not going to be that great. However, the message is what we're focused on. The delivery, we will improve. However, let's just keep it rolling, right? Let's go right into the next segment, which is effectively just keeping your tires properly inflated. Again, this is another helpful tip that an average motorist should know. Overinflated tires will cause a tire to effectively delaminate. In some cases it could burst, and it could be a little bit scary if you're driving and all of a sudden your tire just it gets a little bit frightening. Now, how to avoid that is quite easy. If you look at the vehicle manufacturer, you can do a quick Google, or in some cases it's actually on the side of the door, and you can tell the recommended tire PSI. Generally, as a rule of thumb, you want to be somewhere between 32 and 37. I have seen people make common mistakes with looking at the side of the tire, and they see a number, so they think, oh, that's what it must be. That's actually the maximum PSI, or the maximum air pressure. So do not fill it to that level. That's just how much it should maximum be. Right now, I can imagine the average person looking at it saying, oh, it says 50, let me put 50 in there. When in doubt, 32, 34, 36, you can't go wrong with those. However, I would always check the manufacturer to make sure that it is within the specification for your application. Let's move right along, shall we? Now, let's not forget about your battery. Okay, we live in Cayman. I've seen on average people always refer to me and say, hey John, why am I not getting a few years out of my battery? In North America, I get 4 to 5 years. What I found in Cayman is about 2 to 3 years is about the average, and I suspect that could be for one or two reasons. The first is probably just our salt air, just our humidity is just always, and then the second would be just the heat. But another way that I was considering as well, that I thought about, is we take usually shorter trips. Now in North America, I would imagine you're going to be potentially driving much longer than you will in Cayman. We're taking more frequent trips and we're not driving as far. The starting cycle is the most energy consuming part of the vehicle, right? So as you crank that ignition and it starts, it's a lot of energy it taking from the battery. So when you are frequently starting the car, that could contribute it to, a little bit premature. But I really think it's the heat. I think that's one of the main factors here. It's constantly hot. 2 to 3 years is about the average that I found most batteries last in Cayman. However, one of the things that I must note is that if you live near the ocean, you may want to pop your bonnet every now and then to check if there is any corrosion on your battery terminals. The corrosion is that, white/blue color looking thing that just builds up on the terminals of the battery that can lead to premature failure of the battery. And yeah, you don't want that. No one really wants that. If you actually have any form of ideas, concepts, we want to hear from you. But let's jump right back into it, shall we? Now, I want to take a quick break and speak on some of the things I come across doing this profession. In my opinion, some practical tips that could make the ownership a little bit easier will be something along the lines of just organizing your documents, right? Making sure that in your glove box you have your vehicle logbook, your vehicle insurance. On your logbook or your registration page, you'll see your VIN number. For people driving older cars, having your VIN number available is a great advantage, as well as what type of battery size you have, as well as what tire size. You can easily find these things. Just, I might make some content on that, but just having this stuff written down somewhere in your glove box, that way if your mechanic ever asks you, you can already just explain, hey, my battery or my vehicle uses so and so battery. Same thing with the VIN number. That is a critical part with helping find the correct part for your vehicle should it need it. That would be one of my practical tips, is just trying your best to keep things organized as best as possible, especially for your insurance and vehicle logbooks. Sometimes you get to the DVDL and you just don't want to be hassling around looking for paperwork and so forth, right? Another thing is just having a simple small emergency kit. I've seen a few at different parts vendors, mainly CarQuest, A.L. Thompson's, Parker's, again most automotive places, Napa included, as well as Automotive Art. Just again, simple jump starter, maybe a tire plug, simple stuff really. Because if you don't have because if you do have AutoShield, you don't need none of that stuff. We got you covered no matter where, no matter when. But if you don't, a simple set of jump cables will go a long way, because Cayman is a very peaceful place. People will help each other here. So if you're ever in a situation you're just not sure what to do, so let's just take a pause for a second here, and just instead of going through all this information again, I love hearing from you. I love hearing from the people that is watching the show, because this is why we do it. We do it for you, right? I already know this stuff, and I am just focused on delivering as much information that is helpful as possible. And some of the questions that I've been asked, I might just take 3, right? One of the questions that I was asked is, why does my car's AC stop blowing cold air when I'm stuck in traffic? Now, I had to think about that for a little while, because you can look at it from 2 different points of view. One, if you are in traffic coming from the eastern sides and you're just bumper to bumper, if you're very close behind the car in front of you, the exhaust heat from, I guess the heat from the exhaust, I should say, is blowing directly onto your radiator, onto your condenser, and that could just make it harder for your condenser to do what it's supposed to do, which is effectively it cools the gases down. And that's why in the evening time or at night, or even when you're driving, your AC always seems to work much more efficient, much better. Sometimes even after a good car wash, your AC feels colder, and that's because the condenser, the main stuff in the front, has cooled down, and it's going to be a little bit more efficient. So I would say if you could avoid or give at least a 4 foot gap as big as possible, so that your engine can be as cool as well as, your condenser can be as cool, that's probably one of the main reasons why it may not be blowing as efficiently. Other reason is probably just needs a top up. We can check cool runnings or many other AC guides for that. All right, rolling into the second question. How do I know if the used car I'm buying was flooded or has hidden rust damage? Now, back in the day, a little bit after Ivan, you probably had to worry about that. Now, probably not so much in terms of saltwater rust. However, if you are looking at a Jeep, Wrangler, anything that is used, most trucks, anything that is used that they're launching boats or wave runners and so forth, that is something you should look at. Normally, people will do the spray-on coatings for the frame rails as well as other parts of the suspension. Something that you could probably look at is if you can get a flashlight and look inside of the frame rail itself. I'll see if I can put a diagram here to pop up and show you what I mean. But the best way, in my imagine, is just having a pre-purchase inspection completed. But if you don't have that, just a flashlight and just maybe getting underneath there and having a good thorough look, not just at the parts that are being sprayed, but also the entire undercarriage. Unfortunately, rust is something that if you paint over it, you can't tell until it's completely on the opposite side. So that would probably be my best guess. I don't think you have to worry too much about flooded vehicles in 2025, but you never know. And let's look at the third question. Why are my tires wearing out so fast, and is it because of our roads? I would say between the heat, the potholes, roundabouts, and the short trips, the cars in Cayman, the tires on the cars in Cayman can wear out prematurely. I will say though, and this might be a bit of a controversial statement, higher price tires or higher name brand tires do seem to last longer. I do feel the manufacturing process involving Bridgestones, Dunlops, Michelin, those higher brands, they do last longer. Now, they're usually twice the price, but in my opinion, you can get maybe twice as much life out of it. Some of the cheaper tires, they probably last maybe half as long, and I do believe it's because of the manufacturing processes. They're usually cheap for a reason, but I get it. People afford what they can afford. As long as you have a healthy tread depth, you can get proper traction. You may have to replace them a little bit more often, but as for why they're wearing out, I think it's just a combination of the heat, the potholes, roundabouts, and just your driver behavior as well as the type of tire you have. I wanted to take some time to do sort of like a mini reaction style series, right? And again, listen, information is information, but it should have some form of entertainment to it. And as I said before, this is our first show. It's likely that our first few will be just a little bit boring, a little bit, non-animated, but the idea is to get better over time. And I would encourage anyone to just, instead of being perfect, just get it out, get it started, and always improve from there. So let's look at one of our first videos, shall we? Yep. Yeah, so that sound is usually a CV axle, and what he's doing here now is removing that, showing the processes at least. Now this is all of his sped up, but you can tell it's it's a bit of work to get these things done, to be honest. It's not an easy job, so shout out to the mechanics that doing this mobily. I mean, listen, this is not an easy job. The heat alone is hot. So he's in a shop with a lift and everything. So sometimes when you see these guys charge you some money, it's this is why. This is not an easy job to do. Of course, this is sped up for time's sake, but basically that's the axle right there. Now you would repeat that process, put it back, put the new one in, which is what he's opening up here. Yeah, so that's a new axle there. Boom, gonna drop that in there. And yeah, so they wear out for various reasons. They usually wear out because of age. He's gonna lube this up, grease it up, perfect. Slide that into the transmission. Again, these jobs are pretty difficult. They're not, they're not easy, right? So sometimes when you see a number that a mechanic charges, it might look like it's easy, but when you get started, sometimes it just, yeah. So that's that one there. Now, I found another video that I found a bit interesting, and this is the removal of an oil filter. Now, this is an oil change. Now, what I find surprising with this video is, you'll see it now, that's a milkshake, right? Something in this engine, this is not how it's supposed to look, right? Coolant and oil is mixing somewhere, so it's likely a blown head gasket or something of that nature. And I know he's just spoofing on this video, but you would not just continue this job as normal, right? That's not what you do at all. Yeah, I think he's just kind of goofing off with this type of thing for the clout. However, yeah, once you see that milkshake like that, that engine is practically finished, right? That's not, yeah, that's done. Now, when I found this video, instantly, all the mechanics watching, anyone that works on cars, they will tell you the first few years into this profession is nerve-wracking, right? Your first few cars, you're just so nervous. You will do just, in some cases, just regular silly mistakes. And in this case, you'll see what he did. It seems like he's a new technician, and the guy making making fun. And that's one thing with mechanics. We'll always be, having fun, making fun of each other. Oh man, so poor Charles. What he did, instead of draining the motor oil, he drained the transmission oil. Now, looking underneath the car, as again a new tech, he's probably thinking of, he's trying to fit in, he's trying to get it fast and so forth. So he just saw the first oil bung and drained that. So I'm sorry, Charles, but yeah, I mean, sometimes mistakes are some of the best learning things. Those guys are probably going to lay into him for a few days, but I'm sure he'll be fine. They probably just will install some new transmission fluid, and but this is a part of it. That's a part of the learning curve in the automotive space. Before we wrap up today's show, I want to hear from you, right? What are some of the things that we could do different? What are some of the things that would bother you? Because we want to make this show for people in Cayman. The issues that you come across on a daily basis, that's what we're here for, right? So please send us your car moments, your questions, your headaches, your why is my car doing these videos. Everything, if you seen it somewhere on the road, we just want to see, right? We want to know, because by this information and sharing this information, everyone should benefit, because knowing about your car shouldn't be a hidden science or a hidden art. We believe in just being open and as transparent as possible. This is why we're making these videos, to keep you informed, keep you entertained, and just continually improve. So again, if you have any issues, please send us your clip. We want to hear from you. Until next time, peace. I hope that stopped.